Um, okay, it looks like I am live now. I'm just going to open things up here, and hopefully we're getting everybody coming through loud and clear. I will ask everybody to forgive me. This is my first Facebook Live, so I'm still working with the technology. So we will see what we can do here. I'm also on country internet, as many of us are in the SPARC network. So sometimes there is a little bit of a lag in some of the connectivity issues. My apologies if there's anything like that going on. And if we do drop out here, I will try to reconnect and hopefully we can keep everything going there as best we can. I do believe I have Rachel with me tonight in the comments section. So if things do go sideways on me here, I'm hoping she will be able to keep things picked up and away we go. Um, I've been asked tonight to talk to you briefly about a project that's very near and dear to my heart, the Community Presenters Network, or the CPN for short, as we affectionately refer to it. The CPN is a performing arts network, as just like SPARC is a performing arts network. Where we are a bunch of people who come together with a common passion for bringing great art to our communities. We're all passionate about the performing arts, and we all work in smaller venues. The majority of us are small venue managers or presenters who work in small venues, and we have we found that we have a lot in common. The CPN sort of started as kind of by accident. We are I like to say we are the product of two parents. SPARC, of course, and Ontario Presents, the umbrella arts presenting organization in Ontario. Um, the the CPN arose out of a series of discussions that took place in the fall of 2017, I want to say, 2016, 2017, at various events hosted by Ontario Presents and Spark through their own activities that they were doing. And we That's where we all sort of found each other. I was at the Spark Symposium in Halliburton, and I put up a little notice on the discussion board, which says sort of an area where you could talk about upcoming events and things you want to talk about at the symposium. And I said I just put something up there that said let's talk about small venues, and just because I wanted to know what other small venue managers were doing out there and how they were sort of negotiating the provincial performing arts milieu, which had a lot of which is remains dominated sort of by default by really big performing arts centers. The 800 to 1,000 seat theaters in major metropolitan areas uh, are sort of the driving force behind most of the really big artist presenting work that's being done in Ontario, which is all well and good, except when you're running a 250 seat facility and you're sitting on the same call as somebody running a 2,000 seat facility. You're not talking about the same artists, and you're not talking about the same sort of concerns. They talk about for example, staffing issues and how many technicians are we going to have on this event or that event. And I'm quickly glancing down at my phone to see if I've got a text message from my box office volunteer where to tell me about how my technical volunteer is having issues sorting out one of my user group volunteers. So it was clear that there was a real disconnect between sort of the big and the small. So we we really we went into that discussion at the Spark Symposium, not really knowing what we were going to find, and we found that there was a lot of us. It touched a nerve. There was a lot of people there saying, "Oh my God, we need to get together as small venues and talk about this." So, long story short, one thing led to another. Series of conversations with Spark and Ontario Presents. January 2017, we came together in Toronto and we founded the Community Presenters Network, a organization of small venues dedicated to bringing great art to our communities and to having the kind of conversations we needed to have to make that happen and to grow as presenters. So since then, we've come a long way. We've done a lot of we have done a lot of booking. We have both formally through a block booking program and informally by just talking to each other. We found a lot of great artists. I've brought people into my space that I never would have otherwise heard of, and had really great success with them because of the people I've met in the CPN. So it's really been really great that way. We've done a lot of resource development work. That's something that we saw identified early on as something we really wanted to focus on, making sure that we had really robust artist resources and presenter development resources available to people, and could help sort of bridge the gap there, because there's a lot of really great stuff out there, and we wanted to find ways to make people aware of that and able to access a lot of those sort of industry specific things that if you just don't know they're there, it's kind of, you're kind of fumbling in the dark. So we've done a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of professional development stuff. We've also really, on a very basic level, found a community of like-minded colleagues that we can talk to. We Ontario Presents will generally host us for one conference call every month. We take the summers off, but we get together and we talk about artists, we talk about shows, and we also talk about things that are of common interest to us. So we had a call last year about volunteers. We have a call about technical technical spaces and technical issues, technical writers. A lot of people want to know, how do you read a technical writer, and what's sort of the nuts and bolts that you need to worry about there. We had a really great conversation around artist settlements. We had a really, we have one of our members who does a guarantee and a back split on almost every show he does. That's not something that a lot of us were really comfortable doing. So he very graciously, offered us up some templates and walked us through the process of how to do that very simple, in retrospect, very simple little technical thing that we otherwise didn't know how to do. So there's that sort of information sharing, and even the more informal stuff back and forth, that really helps build up our skills as presenters, builds a community of small presenters, and sometimes it's just great to have a shoulder to cry on, frankly. People who get it, people who understand what we're going through, who have the same issues that we do, and a lot of the same concerns, whether it be with audiences, with volunteers, with funders, authorizers. We really do seem to have a lot in common. And that's true whether we're a volunteer presenting organization or a professional presenting organization. We have both in our group, and we really don't stand too much on the ceremony of one over the other. It is what we do. So, that's basically the Community Presenters Network as it stands, in a nutshell. However, no network is simply there just to exist. It needs to grow and to change and to take on new things. So in that respect, there's a couple of really interesting projects that we've undertaken in the past couple of years that I want to talk about, that I think will have a lot of that will have a lot of applicability for a number of people who may be watching today. The first is our advocacy toolkit. This is something that we developed thanks to a grant from SPARC through their Community Collaborative Initiatives program. We were able to hire a consultant to go out and do a bunch of research to create an advocacy guide for small, rural, remote presenters. The need for this really emerged and became clear to us on a cross country webinar that a number of us attended, where there was this common complaint from small rural arts organizations of having to really do um, a lot of very basic advocacy work with funders, authorizers, political leaders, and other stakeholders in their communities, and having to not really having a great tool to do that with, and not having the tools to really initiate those kind of conversations. This certainly was not a call for a very detailed, nuanced advocacy strategy. This was We're tired of explaining what we do in the baldest, most oversimplified terms we can think of, and we need something that we can use to initiate a mature conversation with our stakeholders about what it is that we do and why that matters. So that was where the impetus for the advocacy toolkit was born. So we hired Fanny Martin. If you ever run across her, she's an absolutely great resource. And she went out and did a whole bunch of research, and she came up with this advocacy toolkit that we have available on our website, and I've got the link in the chat box if anybody wants to go and check out the web page. And the toolkit is right there, and it's very much a starting point. We envision this thing to grow over time. As it sits out right now, it lays out, the foundations of an advocacy program, goals, a little bit of strategy and tactics, and a bit of case studies from other places where they've had some success. There's certainly a lot of communities across Ontario where they have very, very robust arts and culture communities. Obviously Haliburton, the birthplace of SPARC, is a great example of a community that really understands the role that arts play in a community, in a small community, and how that can be successfully leveraged into to really great things. But there are other communities across the province that are doing it as well. So we wanted to start a place where we could collect those kind of stories and combine it with some basic advocacy tactics and strategies, and sort of lay out the broad strokes for people, so that they could go to their political officials or their senior managers or a funder, and say, this is what we want to do, and this is why it's important. So we'd like people to use this advocacy guide, obviously, but we'd also like people to contribute to this advocacy guide. So if you have a great story about how your town council, um, you know, was given a proposal where, well, you were faced with a closure of a theater. It's the age old dilemma, and you were able to overcome that, and you were able to get that political buy-in. That's the sort of stories we want to know. And it's not just about those great stories. Obviously, that's what we care about. But politicians love numbers, so anything that's got statistics, quantifiables, things like that. Those are the sort of things that are really interesting as well. And so we're always welcoming any sorts of information or stories or anything like that, so that we can add to the guide and we can build future editions of it that make it even more user friendly, for other presenters and for arts advocates and to borrow Spark's phrase, arts animateurs. I love that term. The people who are the movers and shakers who get things done, because there are a lot of us in all these communities, and we do have a lot to learn from each other, and a lot that we can benefit by learning from each other. So I'm really happy about the advocacy guide and what we've managed to do with that, um, to get it where it is. But like I say, I do want to continue to build upon it. So the second thing that I really wanted to mention is our newest project, the Presenter Exchange Program. And again, this is a project that is funded through SPARC, so thank you to SPARC for that. And this was again in response to an identified need. This is something that goes back to the very founding of the CPN, when we all sat together in that one same hot room in Toronto, and we said, "Look, we all want to grow as presenters. We all want to learn. We all want to learn from each other, and we all want to see what the other one does on a day-to-day basis." So, that was sort of the the idea behind, well, let's do an exchange. Let's go to each other's spaces and learn from each other. We weren't trying to invent the wheel with a mentorship program. There's lots of great mentorship resources out there. There's Ontario Presents, Capicoa. They've all got some really great programs out there, that are really doing some exceptional mentorship work. So, we didn't want to sort of reinvent the wheel on that. This is more of a two-way exchange. This is more two colleagues getting together. And it can be as simple as simply shadowing each other in each other's spaces for a day to say, well, what's your typical day look like? And what are the things you deal with on a day-to-day basis? And we've tried to, we're trying to look for people who have, an identifiable thing that they're looking to know how to do. But they're also what is an identifiable skill that they can then offer someone in exchange. For example, my background is technical theater. So I have a lot that I can offer someone who is perhaps not as technically savvy or hasn't arrived at presenting from a technical position. But at the same time, I'm perennially stumped when it comes to there's certain genres of music. You get into the artist selection thing. I couldn't program it. Well, not even music. Look at dance. I know next to nothing about dance. I will freely admit that. I would love to know more about dance. So, in this, if I were to participate in this presenter exchange, I might seek out a presenting partner who knows a fair bit about presenting dance and about what dance is and why it's got so much resonance, and even specific types of dance, depending on what I was looking for. And then in return, they were looking for some more grounding in, how to read a technical writer, or, you know, outfitting a new space with lighting and sound equipment, and the kind of questions you should ask when you're doing something like that. So, there was that's sort of how the presenting exchange program is envisioned. A partnership between two two colleagues, working in different, learning from each other. Now, so SPARC has given us this funding to do this. So the Community Presenters Network will pay for travel and accommodations, which is obviously the biggest expense. Um, for people to go to each other's venues, because it's not the sort of thing that you can learn over over the phone or over Zoom. It's not that again, it's not a mentorship program. It's really trying to get that sort of hands-on experience in each other's venues, and really having that sort of day in the life experience. So that's our main focus. That's our new main project for this year. Um, Obviously, that's going to be a little difficult to do right now. um, we are holding that program until such until such time as we're able to do um, able to do those sort of live get-togethers once again. But it's part of what we are hoping to make the CPN about as we move forward. Let's see. So I'm seeing some of the comments here that it's jumping in and out. I kind of figured this might happen, so I'm hoping I'm still getting most of the connectivity here. Um, I will I will try to keep this reasonably brief, so I'll get this wrapped up fairly shortly here. Um, just a couple of making sure checking my notes. Forgive me here. I've covered the advocacy guide. I covered the presenter exchange program. The only other thing I'd really like to mention is that we are growing as a network. We are always looking to expand, always looking to move into new things, always looking to help new people. So by all means, feel free to reach out and get in touch with us. On our website, there is the connection to Kaylee Wood at Ontario Presents, who is the booking coordinator there, and she's an absolutely amazing resource. My email address is on there as well. And I'm also always happy to talk about the CPN. I've taken a lot of ownership over the network. I don't claim to be, it's not my network, but it's our network, and we'll we're starting to get things, you know, starting to get a few more network structures in place, but we're not there yet. We're going to keep growing as time goes on. So I'm very much interested in growing the network, in seeing where we go, in seeing what's coming next. So as